Okay, let's unpack this. You know that feeling when you're scrolling through social media, seeing tons of posts and comments, but it all feels a little hollow,
Mm-hmm.
like something's missing from the interactions. That brings us to a question that's been nagging at a lot of us, and it's the focus of our deep dive today.
Mm.
Has the internet, this space that was supposed to connect us all, become less human?
Right.
Have our online experiences shifted in a fundamental way without us even fully realizing it?
That sense you're describing, that feeling of a subtle artificiality online, is really what fuels what's known as the dead internet theory.
Okay.
It's a provocative idea, suggesting that a surprisingly large and growing portion of what we encounter online isn't from, flesh and blood people anymore. The theory proposes that AI, sophisticated bots, and the strategic hand of corporations are increasingly the dominant forces shaping our digital world.
The dead internet theory. It does sound a bit out there at first glance, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
But the more you consider your daily online interactions, the more those little moments of doubt start to add up. Our goal today, as we delve into the articles and research you shared, is to really get a handle on what this theory actually claims, where this idea even came from, and crucially, what it might mean for how we experience the internet every day.
Exactly.
We want to pull out the essential insights without getting, bogged down in overly technical details.
Precisely. We're not aiming to drown you in data points, but rather to synthesize the core information into a clear understanding of the current online environment. And the personal implications here are significant.
Right.
Are those engaging conversations you're having truly with another person, or could you be interacting with advanced AI more often than you suspect?
Hmm.
This deep dive is about empowering you, the listener, to navigate the digital world with a more informed perspective, to recognize the forces at play in your online life.
So let's get down to it. What exactly is the dead internet theory at its heart? What's the core argument it's making?
In essence, the dead internet theory posits that the sheer volume of content and activity we see online is increasingly being generated by non-human entities.
Okay.
We're talking about text, images, even videos created by artificial intelligence, along with automated engagement from highly sophisticated bots.
Right.
The theory suggests that the proportion of genuine organic human activity online is becoming smaller relative to this artificial flood.
Okay, so it's not claiming that humans have vanished from the internet entirely, but more that our presence is being diluted, maybe, perhaps even overwhelmed by these non-human actors.
That's a good way to put it. Diluted, overwhelmed. Yeah.
Where did this rather unsettling idea even originate? It feels like a suspicion that's been growing in the back of people's minds for some time now.
You're right. It's been brewing. Research indicates a noticeable increase in bot traffic around 2016 and 2017.
Okay.
However, the theory really gained traction and wider recognition after a 2021 post on a forum called Agora Road's Macintosh Cafe. This post, penned by someone using the online handle IlluminateApprit, articulated a powerful sense of unease and even paranoia, this feeling that the internet had become somehow sterile and artificial.
Entirely sterile.
Hmm.
That's a striking way to put it.
Yeah.
I can definitely see how that sentiment would resonate, that feeling of scrolling through endless content that just lacks a certain spark,
Yeah,
a human touch.
exactly.
And I recall seeing an article in The Atlantic around that period titled, "Maybe You Missed It, but the Internet Died 5 years ago."
Yeah.
That suggests this isn't just some niche idea confined to online forums.
Absolutely. The Atlantic piece highlighted how that initial post seemed to tap into a widespread and often unspoken feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It resonated with the sense that the internet, which was once envisioned as this vibrant space for human connection and exchange, had become significantly shaped by algorithmic curation and interactions that just don't feel truly authentic anymore.
Yeah.
So it's a theory born from a growing perception that something fundamental has shifted in our online world.
And a significant driver of that shift, as the dead internet theory argues, is the increasing sophistication and prevalence of bots and automation. We're not just talking about those rudimentary spam bots of the past anymore, are we?
Not at all. Bots have undergone a remarkable evolution. We're now encountering AI-generated content that can be incredibly realistic and bot personas capable of engaging in surprisingly natural-sounding conversations.
Really?
Yeah. These AI can generate text that's often indistinguishable from human writing, create photorealistic images, and even participate in online discussions in ways that can make it very difficult to tell if you're interacting with a person or a program.
Wow.
This leap in AI capability is really central to why the dead internet theory feels so plausible to many people.
It's a bit unnerving to consider. Are there any hard numbers that give us a sense of just how pervasive these non-human entities have become?
Yes, the data in this area is quite eye-opening. According to the 2024 Imperva Bad Bot Report, bots accounted for nearly 50%, almost half of all internet traffic.
Almost half.
Almost half. That's a staggering proportion of what's happening online that isn't driven by human users navigating and interacting.
That's a truly significant statistic, and it really makes you reconsider all those comments and interactions you encounter online every day. Could a large percentage of them be automated in some way?
Precisely. And it's not just about general web traffic. Studies have examined specific areas like political discussions online. For instance, a PLOS One study found that during impeachment events in the United States, bots generated approximately 30% of all political content on X, formerly Twitter.
30%. Just from bots.
30%. That's a substantial influence on public discourse originating from non-human sources.
Wow.
So when you see a trending topic online, it's no longer safe to assume that popularity reflects genuine public sentiment. It could very well be amplified, if not driven, by a significant non-human presence.
Right, changing how we even understand consensus.
Fundamentally changing how we understand consensus or public opinion in the digital age.
Yeah. Wow. That really reframes how you look at online discussions. You mentioned Jax's personal observation about noticing unusual bot activity in online comments. It's often those anecdotal experiences that make you think, maybe there's more to this than I realized. Have you noticed similar patterns yourself?
Oh, absolutely. You see comments that seem slightly out of context, or that use very generic phrasing, or that appear with an almost instantaneous speed and volume around certain topics. It definitely makes you question the authenticity of the engagement.
Yeah.
And that's really the core concern of the dead internet theory. The potential erosion of genuine human interaction online due to this pervasive automated activity.
It's not just about bots mimicking humans, though, is it?
Yeah.
The theory also highlights the significant influence of corporations and governments in shaping our online experiences.
Yeah.
How do they fit into this picture of a potentially dead internet?
This is a critical dimension of the theory, yeah. It argues that algorithms, often driven by corporate interests, play a dominant role in curating the information we see. These algorithms can shape our feeds in ways that might not necessarily align with our genuine interests, but rather with what these entities want us to see, whether it's for advertising purposes or to promote specific narratives.
So manipulation, essentially.
It raises fundamental questions about the extent to which our online experience is truly our own, or whether it's being subtly, or maybe not so subtly, directed. Building on the idea of widespread automated activity, the dead internet theory also points to another layer of artificiality, the deliberate shaping of our online experience by powerful entities.
So it's not just about randomly encountering bots. It's also about the information we are seeing being strategically filtered and potentially even amplified by sophisticated automated accounts working for these larger organizations.
Precisely. And when we consider the role of governments, their research from the Oxford Internet Institute is particularly illuminating. They found that over 80 countries are actively engaged in organized social media manipulation campaigns.
80 countries. That's a truly global phenomenon.
It really is.
So it's not just isolated incidents. It's coordinated state-level efforts to mold online discourse.
Exactly. Governments, public relations firms, political parties, they're increasingly involved in large-scale disinformation campaigns, frequently leveraging sophisticated automated accounts. For example, studies have indicated that a significant portion of online conversations originating in countries like Russia involve highly automated accounts pushing specific political agendas.
It's almost like a digital arms race for attention and influence.
Kind of, yeah.
And it really highlights the continued relevance of that 2016 study by Bessie and Ferrara, the one that showed how bots could redistribute influence, polarize online discussions, and spread misinformation.
Right.
Their research looked at the U.S. election and events in Brazil. It demonstrates that this isn't exactly a recent development.
No. That study provided an early but crucial indication of the power of automated accounts to significantly distort online discussions and even have an impact on real-world events. By amplifying certain voices and spreading misleading information rapidly, bots can contribute to the formation of echo chambers and make it increasingly difficult to have genuine, productive conversations in online spaces.
This paints a rather concerning picture. If a significant portion of what we encounter online is either automated or heavily curated, What's the human cost? What are the psychological and cultural ramifications of this type of internet environment?
This is where the dead internet theory really resonates on a personal level, I think. An internet saturated with AI-generated content could have profound implications for human creativity.
How so?
Well, if machines are generating so much of what we see and read, what space is left for genuine human expression and innovation? It also fundamentally impacts our trust in online information. How can we be sure what's authentic and what's been fabricated by AI?
Right. That trust issue is huge.
Absolutely. That feeling of content fatigue that many people experience, that sense of being overwhelmed by endless information, could be exacerbated by the sheer volume of machine-generated content.
That feeling of content fatigue
Hmm.
is definitely something I think a lot of people can identify with. There's just so much noise, and it becomes increasingly challenging to distinguish between what's authentic and what's simply more machine-generated content filling the digital void.
Absolutely. And emerging research is beginning to shed light on the potential psychological effects. A MIT Media Lab study from March 2025, for example, explored interactions with AI chatbots
Hmm.
and found that while they might initially seem to alleviate feelings of loneliness, high levels of usage, particularly with chatbots employing neutral, non-empathetic voices, can actually lead to increased feelings of loneliness and a reduction in real-world social interaction over time.
Wow, really? So the opposite effect.
Yeah. So these interactions that are designed to simulate connection might inadvertently be undermining our ability to connect with real people. That's a sobering thought.
It is indeed. And it's not just about feelings of isolation. As a PMC article from November 2020 pointed out, during the COVID-19 pandemic, the prevalence of bot-generated content actually contributed to an erosion of public confidence in online health information.
Right. Critical information.
When people can't reliably trust what they're reading about critical health topics,
Hmm.
it can have serious real-world consequences.
And we've seen similar detrimental effects in political contexts. The PNAS study on the Catalan referendum in 2017, for instance, found that bots were actively generating violent and inflammatory content online,
Oh, wow.
potentially exacerbating social conflict and contributing to increased distrust and social isolation within the affected communities.
Hmm.
These examples underscore how the widespread presence of non-human actors online can have tangible negative impacts on our emotional well-being, our trust in information, and our ability to connect with each other in meaningful ways.
Yeah.
It really prompts you to consider whether your own online interactions leave you feeling more connected and informed, or strangely more disconnected and uncertain.
It certainly does. So we've outlined the core arguments of the dead internet theory and examined some of the evidence that appears to support it. However, it's important to acknowledge, like you said, this is still a topic of ongoing debate. What can we say about the evidence both for and perhaps against this rather provocative theory?
You're absolutely right. It's not a universally accepted conclusion. However, the data points we've discussed, the nearly 50% bot traffic figure, the documented state-sponsored manipulation campaigns, the observed impact on political discourse, these all provide compelling evidence that non-human activity constitutes a significant and growing force online.
Scale alone is hard to ignore.
The sheer scale of bot traffic alone is a difficult factor to dismiss. And when you combine that with the documented strategic efforts by state actors and corporations to influence online narratives, it certainly raises legitimate questions about just how much of what we see and hear online is truly organic and human-driven. What's fascinating here is that it implicitly raises the question of what evidence might disprove or at least temper the theory. While definitively proving that a majority of the internet is non-human is a complex challenge, the indicators we currently have strongly suggest a significant imbalance.
Right.
Ultimately, it underscores the critical importance of each of us adopting a more critical and discerning approach to the information we encounter online,
Yeah, critical thinking is key.
and to actively engage in critical thinking about the sources and the authenticity of the interactions we have.
So if this trend continues, and the lines between human and AI online become increasingly blurred, how do we navigate this evolving digital landscape? Are there any potential solutions or strategies for maintaining genuine human connection in these digital spaces?
Well, the sources we've looked at do touch briefly on some potential technological solutions, such as the development and adoption of blockchain technologies and decentralized web platforms.
Okay, like Web3 concepts.
Kind of. These approaches could offer greater transparency and potentially provide mechanisms for verifying the authenticity of users and content online. There's also the ongoing and complex discussions surrounding the regulation of artificial intelligence,
Which is a huge topic in itself.
which could potentially help to mitigate some of the more manipulative applications of bots. Yeah, massive topic.
Those sound like important, longer-term systemic solutions that are still developing. What about more immediate, actionable steps that we, as individual internet users, can take right now?
For you, the listener, the first and perhaps most crucial step is simply cultivating greater awareness. Be more conscious of the potential for bot activity in your daily online interactions.
Just being mindful.
Exactly. Approach online interactions with the degree of healthy skepticism. Question the authenticity of online accounts and interactions that seem unusually perfect, overly aggressive, or just generally off.
Look for the signs.
Look for patterns of behavior that might suggest automation rather than genuine human engagement. Be more mindful of where and how you choose to spend your time online, perhaps prioritizing smaller, more intentionally human-centered online communities. The ultimate goal, as I see it, isn't to declare the internet a lost cause, but rather to actively work towards fostering an online environment that continues to prioritize genuine human expression and meaningful connection.
So, to bring it all together, the dead internet theory, while it might sound a bit extreme on the surface, raises some really fundamental and important questions about the authenticity of our online spaces and the potential for non-human activity to become increasingly dominant.
Yeah, it really does.
The sheer volume of bot traffic approaching half of all internet activity, coupled with the documented instances of state-sponsored manipulation and the algorithmic shaping of our feeds by corporations, certainly gives us reason to pause and consider the nature of our digital interactions.
What's particularly thought-provoking is the intersection of this technological shift with human psychology. The studies we've discussed suggest that this evolving online environment can have tangible emotional consequences,
Right.
potentially contributing to increased feelings of loneliness and a decline in our trust in online information. It's a complex and multifaceted issue with no easy answers.
And it leaves us with this final, perhaps provocative thought for you, the listener. In a world where the lines between human and artificial intelligence online are becoming increasingly blurred, how do we ensure that our digital lives remain meaningful, authentic, and truly connected?
Yeah, how do we keep it human?
We encourage you to continue to observe your own online interactions with a more critical eye, to keep questioning the information you encounter, and to think deeply about the forces that are shaping your digital experiences.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the dead internet theory. We sincerely hope this conversation has provided you with some valuable insights into this complex and rapidly evolving digital landscape.